Good morning, St. Maarten. What's up? What's cooking? Been 2 weeks that I was off. I took a much needed break, get the brain back in action, and let the body rest a little bit. I must say I enjoyed the International Convention. I attended the International Conventions of the Lions Club and in Boston, and that was great. And then after that, I had some quality time that I spent with my grands, so that too was great. Now, today the show is going to take some different angles. And one of them is, we keep talking about this word paradise. We live in paradise. This is, St. Maarten is paradise. And the big question that people keep asking, and I myself am asking it, is paradise for whom? Because there are a few things we must agree on. One, who owns St. Maarten? Two, who runs it? Three, who governs it? And four, for whom are we leaving this future? When you package that, I think you're going to get an indication on where I want to go today. Mr. Kantav did a few segments that the semicolon, and one of them was who owns St. Maarten, and it had to do with the land ownership and so. And then the other one was who runs this country really. And as we speak about it today, you're going to realize that the country can be a paradise. It can be. For whom we're going to have to decide ourselves, because right now it's not really for us. The way things have been done over the years, and this is not just to slam this government, because this didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in the last 4 years, but the last 4 years, it accelerated in an extremely fast pace. And that's unfortunate. So things that we might have been able to control, we are losing total control on. And this is something we have to look at. So but let me get into some notices that I think are still very important to keep in the back of our mind, because they're going to play us a very, very serious role just now. And when I say just now, I'm talking about the Dutch elections that are coming, and in my opinion, the St. Maarten elections that will be before January 2024. I think the State Secretary, when she stated that the 3 prime ministers of the Cast Islands said there's no space in their countries for same-sex marriages to be recognized and registered in the respective countries, I think I stated that in St. Maarten there was no registration, and I want to correct myself for that. The information that I have been able to gather is you can register. So if there's a marriage that was done, for example, in Sabre Station, Bonaire, or Holland, the marriage can be registered here. The problem is it doesn't have the same rights as a man and a woman's marriage has. So there's still a discriminatory act there, and that is something that we are going to have to deal with, because our Constitution, one of the principles are that there is no discrimination between people. And with this, the way it is right now, there is a discrimination, and that was what the whole case was based on in Curacao. But I want to to correct what I said, because I did say that in St. Maarten they could not register, and that is not true. But again, the whole topic on its own is a topic that's going to come back, because we're autonomous countries and we are tied to legislations, we are tied to treaties, and we have gone against the treaties that we ourselves have signed up, and those are the human rights treaties of the European Union. So let's see what's going to come out of that as we go along. Now, again, there was a video that did circulation on Facebook and on WhatsApp, and that was from the Bayan leader, where she stated that all the apologies that were given for slavery really mean nothing when you continue to enslave your people through poverty and other methodologies. Now, St. Maarten, I'm not going to speak for Curacao and Aruba, but I'm going to speak for St. Maarten. With the deficit we have to the Dutch government, we're enslaved for the next 100 years. We cannot pay back that 1.5 billion guilders. If I do that over 100 years, I'm talking about 15 million guilders a year. If I want to do it over 10 years, it's 150 million guilders, or 1/3 of my budget. So you understand that by paying back the loan 3-4% of your budget, it's going to take another 100 years to pay back what we owe right now. Mind you, the Enya loan is coming, because I don't see this government getting away from that. They can wiggle all they want. They can run their mouth all they want, especially the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. They can blah, blah, blah all they want. But either they're going to take that loan, or they're going into elections in St. Maarten without a refinanced liquidity loan. And that means they're losing this election. Finish, because they can't pay it. And come October, the Dutch going to want their money. So yes, it's going to become very, very interesting when they got a lot of yappity going on, because they don't want to tell the people the truth. I think Van Huffelen did it well. She set the record straight, and I'm going to come down later on in the show to talk about this, because it is important that we understand what we're up against. Sweet talk and smooth talk is not going to bring us to paradise. It's going to bring us to that fake paradise we all live in and believe it's paradise when it's convenient to us. Again, you can remember 3-4 weeks ago, Van Huffelen was here and she went on Oral Gibbs and she made a load of promises, projects, how we're going to do things. Because right now, they're in a caretaker government system, a lame duck government. They can't do nothing new. All the discussions ain't going no place. A lot of things ain't going no place. My biggest fear is the liquidity loans, because those haven't materialized yet. And if you don't watch out, when the second chamber comes out of recess in August, they're going to say, you know what? Put that in the list of not to-dos. Because the new government will find itself having to deal with a situation like that, where a lot of things are going to be happening, conditions might need to be set to ensure they can get their money. And I'm going to explain you why I am saying this. This one is just jokey, okay? Don't. I must say this one because I didn't know what to do. I started to laugh. I was on vacation and somebody sent me a WhatsApp, I think it was a picture with the Herald, something like that. The Minister of Romy was fixing the St. Peter's basketball court, but the Minister of Sports wasn't there. So I want to believe somebody wanted to return in the favor and they went to fix the 911 road. And he wasn't there. And you know, this whole thing blew up, because they went after the guy. They went after the housing foundation. Asked them if they're crazy and they hope they use their money to do this and this and this. But I thought we were one. You can see, nobody wanted everybody scrambling for their vote. But I think it was Gromyko that said it best. This election is about parliament. This election is about legislation. So any minister want to impress me, come with legislation. Do like what Anna Richardson is doing. Come with legislation. Come with legislation, for example, for the anklet bracelet. That is somebody that is showing you, as a minister, I am a capable parliamentarian. So you see, fixing a road means nothing. Let me give you some advice, sonny boy. Ask your former leader how he lost an election to the red machine when we informed the public of St. Maarten you can't eat concrete. He built roads all over the island and he lost the election bad. You know why? Because the people were hurting. There was no economic turnover because one group was doing everything like it's happening now. But let's move on. I noticed that in 911, while we go up there and we try to fix the roads, we're not fixing the sewage. And I was happy to read, and I had a smirk on my face because it took more than 4 years to release money through the public prosecutor's office, $2 million that was allocated to do sewage works for this country. They did a little job with the lifting station at Foga, with a pressure line to the Carnival village, and everything else stopped. The lifting station that was to be built close to the old public works, the yellow building, so that the rest of Phillipsburg can be now on free fall sewage, is through the door. The sewage that was going to be built on the ATLH road all the way back down, so from Prince Bernard Bridge all the way back down to the sewage plant, is through the door. They're going to take that money now and go to Dutch Quarter to fix Dutch Quarter. While Dutch Quarter needs fixing, make no mistake, Dutch Quarter needs fixing. But there was money there for that. What happened? Minister explained to people what happened. Millions has been wasted under your watch. Under your watch. Court case after court case. And nothing? And now you're going to pick up money from something, for another place, for sewage, and you're going to put it in Dutch Quarter? While I know Dutch Quarter needs it, and I agree Dutch Quarter needs it, you cannot just do that. But then again, you're the boss. The rest can just look on until January. But it's okay. I believe that the people are seeing what's happening. They are so incompetent. Yet the Prime Minister says that they do strategic thinking. I don't know in which hemisphere they are when they're doing this, but surely it's not on this island. It surely isn't here. I will give the minister, the same minister just beat up on, I'll give him credit, that he used the BOP program to teach the young boys and girls that are doing an internship, a vacation internship at Public Works, how to deal with asphalt and fix the holes in the road using the coal asphalt methodology. I want to thank the Public Works employees. Those were the guys I have worked with for 24 years. I want to thank them for taking the time out to teach youngsters the trade. It is not the best way to do roads, but it is a way to do it, and we can get something. I agree with you, Kenny. Dutch Quarter got a lot of votes, but you know what? When we start to distinguish that way, then those that really need the help will never get the help. But okay, let's move on. I'm happy also to read that St. Maarten Housing Foundation has opted to carry out a 3-year maintenance program on the Belvedere housing project, and they got a loan, and now the homes are being given an inside-outside repair. These are good things, and I want to highlight them because I can come here and beat up on government all week because there's enough that they do wrong or stupid that gives you the ammunition to do that. But when they're good things, I highlight them. And the St. Maarten Housing Foundation, they are working diligently to get done what needs to be done to keep that foundation in the positive. And to Mr. Solomon and Mr. Bell and all them, you all keep doing what you're doing. Now the airport. I don't know which one I'm going to start with, but let me start with the positive one. The airport employees have gotten a letter telling them that the long-awaited monies are now coming. Elections are due. The CEO wants a contract extension, so they start now fixing up salaries, and they're going to give this one money, and they're going to give that one money, and they're going to fix this for that one, they're going to fix that one for... You know what you got to fix, Jacko? You got to fix that local people can get jobs down there instead of flying in all those people from all over the place. That's what you should do. You want extension? Then fix that. Because I'm going to tell you something. Nobody going to trust you no more. Nobody does. So, maybe I said it a little short. Nobody trusts you. Because you surely are not for us. And that's going to bring me into a great campaign slogan down the road. Unfortunately, you'll be the demise of some others. Going to get a Minister of Finance a little big up. I see the Minister of Finance has created the Send app, and that's going to be able for people to receive money and send money. And that's a great something, because the central bank said that they can't handle PayPal. And the banks got to do this, and the banks don't want to do it because of the risk and all kind of craziness. And here comes the Minister of Finance, not a banker by profession, and has the Send app made and is getting it ready for implementation. Y'all realize what I am talking about? The central bank can't have PayPal regulated, but a minister can regulate a new app that you can get on Apple and Google to download, and eventually you can move money. You know, honest to God. Kudos to the minister. The central bank, they should dissolve that stupidity. The controls of prices on goods and the identification of persons entering casinos seems to be the latest activities of the law that exists for quite some time, months or years actually already, and they're going to now deal with them. So I'm going to get back to that a little later. I know the one for the, the food is since January, and the one for the casinos, oh God, that must be 50 years old. But we can get back to that later, because there was a whole incident about it, and I think it warrants attention to understand what happened or what didn't happen. On a more negative note, the cruise industry is speaking badly about the rundown capital of Philipsburg. A lot of money was put into this capital about 20 years ago. I think it was 2008, 2007, 2008, someplace around there. They built the boardwalk. Then they went into a whole revamping of Philipsburg, revamping of the road to Sucker Garden, revamping of the road to the harbor. A lot of things were done to enhance the experience in the Philipsburg area, to bring back life to the Philipsburg area. This was primarily done under the days of Commissioner Theo Heiliger, because after that, once we became country, nothing has happened. Philipsburg has become a rundown, dirty city. And the cruise industry is speaking about it now. And I think it's very important that this government pays keen attention to this. And while we have set our priority to rename Philipsburg, I think we need to set our priority to revive Philipsburg. Because like they always say, what's in a name? We need to make our economical center that once again. Philipsburg 20 years ago was the heart and soul of our economy. Today it's nothing nearly. Just a few jewelry stores and some t-shirt stores. But that's basically what it has turned into. And if we can't fix that, then we have no right to talk about paradise. Because there is no paradise. There's a rundown capital. A dirty rundown capital with cars parking all over the place. That's what it is. That's what the cruise industry is saying. Not Bun Camper. Don't get upset with me, because I'm telling you directly now in a show that you all ain't doing your job correctly. We have set a wrong priorities. But I understand with the group that we have there that strategic thinking is not their strongest point. And they surely don't have a helicopter view. Now, back to the airport. In my last notice, I won't be discussing it today for sure, but I know it will get some attention this week. That is the toilet affair. This seems to be growing in the public. And while we're talking about who could use which toilet and who can use which toilet, what we have lost track on is what's going to happen this new school year. Do we have enough teachers to start this new school year? According to me, the answer is no. The hospital, are we on track? Are we meeting our goals? A promise made is a promise kept. The answer is no. Yet we worry about toilets. Yet we worry about changing the name in Phillipsburg. And you want to talk to me about paradise? You all can't be serious. Let's talk about VAT instead of TOT, import duties, lower wage tax. I love the article I saw from Emilio Calmera. Now, Emilio is a fellow, don't always agree with him, but I will give you this. Emilio is a very, in my personal opinion, very deep thinking financial guru. I give him that. Emilio sees things from different angles that sometimes we don't see. Because it's not, for me, it's not my field. So I will listen to people like Emilio when they talk finance. I don't pretend that I know it better because I don't. And when you read the post that were attached to one of his articles, you ask yourself, but what have we done for the past years when it comes to, this whole taxation, making the country economically stronger? The answer is nothing. And, I like how he challenged the MPs. And I was hoping that, some MPs were... I was on vacation when he wrote it. And I was really, interested in seeing if I was going to read something. And I read stuff from people in the business, but I didn't read nothing from the government nor from the MPs. And I said, okay, fine. I was going to talk about it on Monday anyway, so I didn't mind putting anything on Facebook. But I am a firm believer that a TOT tax must be removed and be replaced by an import duty to replace the lost TOT income. By doing an 8% import duty, I strongly believe that the French side will sign along because they made that offer to this government once before. But we opted not to do it. And once again, when you look at budget 2023, and I'm sure budget 2024 is going to show, you'll see a TOT factor there because for one reason or the other, nobody wants to go into the import duty. And I don't know why yet, but I am sure I'll find it. Because there are a few things that we need to understand. If you have an import duty, you're leveling the playing field on both sides of the island. That's one thing. And you're making your money. You're getting 8%. You're not getting 15, but you're getting 8. Now, what does this mean exactly? You're getting 15% on turnover tax. Distributor, no, importer, then to the distributor, then to the retailer. Each time you pay 5% turnover tax. That's the same thing that happens when you start playing with the VAT and all those things. VAT and sales tax. Same thing happens there. And I'll get down into that just now. But when we do this, we also have to look at a few more taxes together. Because you can't just take one tax. You also have to look at the profit tax. Our country wants the people to pay 34.5% profit tax. The onlyest people in St. Maarten that pay profit tax are the banks. Nobody else makes profit. Why would they? To give away a third to the government? No. Bring it down to 12.5%. And everybody will start making profit, and the country will get much more money than it's getting now from profit tax. That is one way. Then you need to look at stop taxing anything below the livable wage. We all agree that St. Maarten's livable wage is about 3,500 guilders. If that is what it is, then that is your minimum wage to be able to live. And we don't tax minimum wage, so we shouldn't tax anything below 3,500 guilders. If you're here to help your people, listen carefully. Then you need to find another way to supplement that. We are living in poverty. If we like it or not, I don't care who gets upset with me. 3,500 guilders is a livable wage according to the SER and all of these groups. Now, mind you, when you go to SFV and you ask how much of this population owns 3,000 guilders or less, it's a whopping 70 to 74% of your population earns less than 3,500 guilders. Which paradise are we talking about when 70 to 74% of your population lives below the poverty line? Which one? You see, this is the problem. And people don't like to discuss these things, and Bankama don't talk about it. Yes, we got to talk about it. People should understand it. You got to understand what we're up against. It means we have to find a solution for this problem. It means you need to find a way to generate money to ensure that anybody under 3,500 guilders does not pay tax, wage tax. That's what it is. They pay their premiums, make no mistake. You will pay your premiums for SZV and those type of things, but you will not pay wage tax. But that means the government is going to have a loss of income, and that income must be generated another way. You can't just cut it and then don't worry about where the money come from, because then you're not only an idiot, but you're a talking idiot. And that's dangerous. Being a quiet idiot is okay, but being a talking idiot, that's a problem. So do not cut something without having something to replace it with. And it is that replacement that the Now Party has already done its homework on and will present in its manifesto. Because it is here. We can do it. We just need to want to do it. Because there are some people in power that are protecting others beyond the norm of thee. Pension. From day one, I have begged this Minister of Finance to please stop taxing the pension. All the pensioners together pay about 3 million guilders in taxes. That's what they do. Give or take, about 3 million. Yet, we tax these people and we have no backup social plan to help them meet their ends. There are seniors that don't eat a meal every day because they can't afford it. I can tell you, I personally support a few seniors every month to make ends meet. It is sad when in a country you don't take care of your people. You don't take care of your animals. Those are the two things that show you how developed, how human a country you are. We are far from that mark. We are far. We allow children to go to school hungry every morning. We allow seniors to miss a meal or two so they can pay Gebe. We allow that because we don't seek anything to fill those gaps. When you don't tax them, at least they have some more buying power. That will not be the solution, the final solution. It is not. But it is a start. But not even that we want. This government has point blank refused to help the seniors. Point blank. And they say, we are one. No, we are not. We are far from one. But again, it is what it is. One of the other problems I have in the system is AOV. We keep calling AOV a pension. AOV is not a pension. AOV is like a stipend. Everybody, the law right now has it that everybody that works pays AOV. And the AOV will function as a stipend to anybody that is living on the island and has reached the age of 65 years old. Okay, you got to be legal, eh? You can't be illegal. So let's say You came here at the age of 20, you worked, and now you're 65, and you live in St. Maarten, you get AOV. Depending if you are registered from your 20th to your 65th birthday, it will be 45 years divided by 50 times 1,224 or 240 years, and that would be your AOV payment. That's what the AOV was for from back in the days of the Netherlands Antilles. That's how it was set up. That's how it still is. The difference is that today the AOV is also paid to people that don't live on St. Maarten anymore. So people that were here, they lived here, and they have now left. Now, again, you're going to have to look at this carefully, because people paid into a system, and when they paid into the system, they are expecting something back from the system now. And I agree with them. If you paid into it with the anticipation that you're going to get back something, then you should get it back. So here comes. If we can do that for those people, then why has this government not made the change that we told them they should make? You know what the change is? The 2,000 plus civil servants, police officers, everybody that pay into the AOV have no right for AOV. And what do I mean with that? If your pension as a civil servant is over the 1,240 years, you could have paid 10,000 a year into the AOV, you will not get back 1 cent. That's sort of the rich pay for the poor. But the problem is, that's not what it was for. It was to be a stipend for everybody. So why not give everybody? What is wrong with civil servants that pay into the system, get their fair share? Why should they be excluded? Because they work for government? That's the reason? But they pay the AOV just the same way the people at TLM and the people at Gebe pay, and they get AOV. They do get their AOV. And those are government-owned companies. You see the hypocrisy in the law? These are the type of things that need changing. These are the type of things that we're going to propose to change. Because we need to understand that in today's world, everybody is looking for income. Because life is getting more expensive, but the salaries and the pensions are not going up. They're not going up anymore. And that is because the pension funds are also bracing themselves for difficult times. The country, when we started 10, 15 years ago, we were much younger. A lot of the generation of 20 years ago is now getting ready and moving into the pension age. And if the youngsters coming behind are not working and filling up the pension fund, you're going to have a problem. Pension fund will run empty. It'll run empty from members and money. That's what happens. Big problem in Holland right now with the pension funds is that Holland is getting what we call grayer and grayer and grayer, and the pension funds are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. That's the reality of the life and the world we live. So, while presently we have the TOT law, and this TOT law allows us to levy a tax on business turnovers, many entities are stealing the government blind as they do not register the total sales, or they don't report the sales in the tax charging area. What does this mean? Remember a few weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I spoke about these new swipes or taps that they were selling on the French side, and those go to bank accounts on the French side. You will not see that on the bank accounts here. The people ain't gonna report that. You know how many people got credit card machines on American numbers, so they don't go through the bank either. They go to a direct bank account in America. So St. Maarten doesn't even see the money. So how you think you're going to get that money? You're going to get it, nobody reported it. Those are the realities in this country, if we like it or not. And those that work in this business know exactly what I'm talking about. This brings now the VAT into perspective of this discussion. Because the VAT or the sales tax are what we want to look at to replace TOT. So I said, get rid of TOT and bring in the import duties. That's how I wanted to cover that loss. But remember, I also spoke about 3,500 guilders threshold, no taxes. So there's going to be a loss of income there that we're going to have to seek. Pensions, no taxes on pension. So there's going to be some money we need to find there. Now, to supplement this money and to create reserves for your country, we got to look at two things: sales tax or VAT. In my opinion, the VAT is basically a TOT, as the value added tax continues to go over the whole supply chain. So from importer to distributor to retailer, all of them will pay VAT, which means you continuously have a rollover on taxes. And the good thing is the government gets their money every month. That's the good thing with the VAT. The sales tax is a little different because the sales tax only touches the last sale in the chain. So the importer, the distributor, they don't pay sales tax. It is the retailer that will pay the sales tax when the consumer buys it, because the consumer is paying the sales tax. That's a fundamental difference. I'm trying to simplify it as much as I can to bring it over that you can understand the fundamental difference between the VAT and the sales tax. The sales tax is at the end of the line. When the consumer buys it, the VAT is across the board as they sell it, as it moves on. So the thing is, with the sales tax, the downside is that the government doesn't get it right away. It takes a while for them to get money. So if they are dependent on this money every month to make the books, then that might not be the wisest thing to do. I think in the Netherlands they use the VAT and not the sales tax. But again, like I said, there are different ways that we can look at it. But you see, there's more that meets the eye when it comes to taxation, because you also have to look at what happens within your tax jurisdiction. And I think here we need to look at really what's going on, because there are two things that you must understand in the tax system. One, that the deliveries have been made within the tax area. So St. Maarten is the tax area, Dutch St. Maarten is the tax area. So that whatever deliveries, the food has been brought here and sold here. And the services are enjoyed within the tax charging area. You come here, you stay in a hotel, you rent the room, you are given a service. Good. That's what it means. So this opens then the Pandora's box. Because how does this then work with Airbnb? How does this work with the tours and excursions that come off the ships? Those services are being done on the island, which means they should be paid for. Now the services, now listen carefully here, because this is where things get very muddy very fast. You're on a cruise ship and you buy a tour, an island tour, you pay $50. They pay the tour operator $15. So the $15 on that TOT got to be paid. But on the $50, nothing is paid. Because that money never touches St. Maarten. While the law is very clear, any services that are enjoyed within the tax charging area. So what is it that the tours from the ships have that doesn't allow us to tax them? Is it that the cruise ship said, if you tax us, we ain't coming? If that's it, then let's talk about it. Then let's talk about that. Because the industry There's nothing wrong with them making money, but it shouldn't be so that they make the money on our backs and we can't even get a share that is due to us. These are things that need to be discussed. You see, we have, and I heard one of the MPs once talk about it, flyover airspace. When an aircraft flies over St. Maarten can charge for that. And it is, you don't have to do no big arithmetic, you just put it in the system. In the aviational world, they have all these systems where when flight plans are made, hey, you're flying through this airspace, it can cost you so much. And the people just pay. And at the end of the month, the money comes in. So these are things that we can do. So I still believe that there's a lot to be done. The question is, are we willing to do the work? Because you're going to have to sometimes make an enemy to get what's due to the country. The taxes that are due to the country, sometimes you have to go after them because they're not freely going to come and pay them to you. So again, we need to see how this is going to work. But again, like I said, it is something that we need to look at carefully, and if we can get it done the right way, I believe that it will work well for us. If I had to make a choice between the VAT and the sales tax, I will choose for the one where I believe everybody pays their fair share, and that would be the sales tax. The problem with the sales tax is that you have to put registries in every store, and those are connected directly to the tax office. So there's no hanky-panky. You sell, you pay. Is that simple, straightforward. And the controls have to be harsh, because when you believe people are doing strange things, you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it directly. Let's move on to, if there's no agreement on the refinancing of the COVID loans, repayment will be postponed by a year, says the PM. Now, this was an article that the PM wrote, put in the newspaper a few weeks back. I think about 2 weeks back, before mid-July. Because mid-July was the deadline that if there was no agreement on the refinancing of the COVID loans, there would be a postponement on the loans. Now, I don't think that is true. That's not how it was. There was a discussion, there are discussions ongoing on the repayment. There's a task force working on it. Van Hofland said clearly to both Curaçao and Sint Maarten, the ENIA issue is a very serious issue, and I need you all to solve it. And once you solve it, we will discuss the refinancing of the loans. Now, a lot of people said, but that's unfair, State Secretary, because that's a new condition. Is it? Is it really a new condition? Let's be honest. Is it really a new condition? The Central Bank of Curaçao and Sint Maarten is owned by Curaçao and Sint Maarten. The Central Bank of Curaçao and Sint Maarten allowed the ENIA saga, just like how they allowed the Hero saga. You cannot blame the Dutch for this. Please, don't do that. Because then you're foolish. Then you're being led by emotions that you should not have. We, Curaçao and Sint Maarten, are responsible for the ENIA mess. It means that either we're going to take a loan from the Dutch to pay this, or we're going to wait till it collapses in December and 30,000 people lose their pension, of which 3,000 are in Sint Maarten. That's what it means. Van Hofland said, and rightfully so, if ENIA collapses, the government of Curaçao and Sint Maarten's budgets will collapse. That means you can't pay me back my loans. So we're going to first fix ENIA. We're going to ensure you get a loan to pay it off and make sure it's in good health again. And we will then continue the discussion on the refinancing and the terms of the refinancing. That's what Van Huffelen said. Van Huffelen never said, but we're pushing it off a year. That's the Prime Minister's wishful thinking. And correct me if I'm wrong on Wednesday. Because I notice that's what I like to try to do nowadays. But that's what she wrote in the Algemene Dagblad. Maybe you should read those, Prime Minister. Those that are printed in Curacao. Because they talk to Holland every day and they get the correct message from Holland. We in St. Maarten seem not to care about the policyholders. Because a lot of people that were involved in this Enya debate and debacle were paraded on stage at a launch. So be cautious how I go about this thing. I'm going to talk about it. I'm honestly going to talk about it because this is hypocrisy at its best. You are going to allow 3,000 people to lose their pension because you want to play politics. Well, let me give you the politics, Madam Prime Minister. You're either going to put your tail between your legs, you're going to cut a deal with the Dutch so that the 700 million can be put back into Enya and St. Maarten will take its share and put it on the loans they got to repay and get refinancing, or your government will collapse. It's that simple. Do not fool yourself. You cannot afford to go into elections and these liquidity loans are not resolved. You cannot afford it. Because this future then of this country is doom and gloom. Because come October, the Dutch gonna want their money. And it's, you know, like how we say, well, they can't do that. What do they do? Take it from us? No. They'll take it to court for default. And then Gebe and the airport and all the people that have loans in this country will have a serious problem when our rating, our Moody rating goes to hell because we defaulted on loans as a country. That's what it means. And those that don't understand that, ask a banker. Because it'll take me too much of time now to explain. But it will hurt this country significantly if we default on the Dutch loans. Hi. Where are we going, my God? 316 million is what we owe on the COVID loans. It's going to be about 70 million that we're going to have to pay back. No, I lie. Yeah, 70 million. Unless the Curacao government get crazy and they said, no, you owe 22 or 26%. And that's your share. Because then it becomes much more. Then it can float any place between 150 to 170 million. That will have to be added on to the 316 million to then go and refinance such. Against, and listen carefully now, because there's no 0% anymore. Eh? This is against the market rates right now, and they are 3% plus right now. That's what the Dutch government is borrowing against. That's what has now caused a crisis in the caretaker government for budget 2024 because of the market prices, because of the serious expenses they are now incurring. Remember, all this liquidity money was borrowed against 0% with the condition that if the borrowing rate change, we got to pay more. It has changed. It has changed. So now we're going to pay the new rate, which is about 3 to 4%. That's what it means, people. Nobody talk about this. Nobody is saying what this means. Because this will have a serious effect on our budgets to come. For the next 20 years, most probably. That's what it means. Because these are going to be 20-year long-term refinancing loans. They're not going to be 5 years or 10 years. I think it's going to be a 20-year refinancing loan. This is what this means. But I also believe that we as a country have to start holding people accountable for what's going on. The central bank is not being held accountable. This Enya fiasco didn't fall out of the sky. This was nurtured over the years. And it has to be dealt with. It really has to be dealt with. People have to be held accountable for this. But again, I don't know what's happening other than what we're hearing. I am going to believe what Van Hoffelen is saying right now, because there's too much of movement and shifting here locally about what's really happening and what's not really happening. I think we either have an agreement within the next month, otherwise we default in October 2023. That's how simple I'm seeing this, you know. And again, the Prime Minister threw in that, oh, we are complying, we're the best one complying with the country packages, has absolutely nothing to do with Enya. Absolutely nothing. All it has to do with is that you're not like Aruba now. All your previous loans getting water washed with a higher rate because they didn't want to work along with the CAFT, which was part of the country packages. So understand the situation. Stop fooling the people and throwing out other things. The country packages are the country packages. Let's not confuse the two, please, because you're confusing the people unnecessarily. When is the last time we had a minister of Tiat that decided to seek some real tourism markets? This is something I picked up off of Facebook, and I found it a very interesting something, and I said, let me just look at it a little bit. Since 10, after becoming country, we have not created or seeked any new tourism markets other than in the US, or travel to many countries to see if we can get airlines to fly in. We have allowed our Caribbean market to be totally destroyed. With the fall of Liat, it only became worse. The government didn't believe it was the wise thing to get Winea up and running and run it through the Caribbean and make sure that, like how ALM used to have the free zone of Curacao alive, we would have been able to have the backstreet economy at least alive using the Caribbean tourism. It's something that I thought and had hoped we would have done, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. That helicopter view, that strategic thinking wasn't really there. So hopefully they brought it in now. I noticed since they brought it in, a lot of technical difficulties, planes ain't flying again. But okay, that's for a different time. We have to rebuild the shopping market of the Caribbean. That's something we should do. We have the national carrier. We are buying all these ATRs. That's what Liat had too. So we can start flying the areas and see what we can do. But again, for the last 13 years, none of the ministers really looked into seriously doing something. Maybe it had to do with the government falling every few years and it never materialized. Quite possible. This government had 4 years, but they had a lot of ministers of Fiat. I think they had what, three or four of them? Yeah, I think 3. Let me see. I had the Weaver, Roger, and the fellow from Fiat. I don't even know who they had before. But okay, makes no difference. What we can do though is start thinking and maybe putting a team together. And this team is not ministers and their chef, the cabinet leaders, jackasses where they be. Leave them stay in the office. Get experts from the aviation industry, the SHTA, so the hospitality industry, the hotel industry, people from the port and the airport, people from the tourism office, Dutch side, tourism office, French side, get a group together and start looking at markets that can service us, the European markets. Think on Germany, think on Belgium, think on Great Britain, think on northern countries like Denmark, Finland, Sweden, or other European markets like Italy and Spain, or maybe in South America, the strong economic traveling countries like Brazil and Colombia. These are markets we should be looking at. And remember, Belgium has an airline, Germany has an airline, Great Britain has an airline, I know Italy has an airline, Spain, all of these countries have airlines. And if we can make agreements, we can have once a week flights from those countries to our country. It can work. Why is it that the other countries in the region have it? Why is it that we don't have it? Or why can't we have it? Have we put in the work? Have we met the requirements they're asking for? Those are questions that we truly, truly have to sit back now and answer honestly. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? We didn't do it the right way. Maybe this would be the right way, or maybe that would be the right way, and let's try it and see what happens. Nothing wrong with that, people. Nothing wrong with that. It takes a big person to say, we didn't do it the right way, but maybe this way it can work. Maybe these are the right people to put in position to have this done. There is nothing wrong with these things. What we don't need is 100 studies again. Because that's the thing we always do. Study and study and study. By the time you finish the study, the market change. You see, and this is the problem that I have with how we go with this. Because if you don't do that, Mike, I don't fully agree with you about the guarantee of seats. That didn't work out well for St. Lucia and all those places with American Airlines. What you have to do is you create packages, like how TUI and all them fly down. With packages, they fly in. Air Italy used to fly in with packages into Sonesta. In Grade B, it can work, but it must be worth everybody $1. And I agree with you. Our budget for tourism is a joke. It's a complete joke. There has to be 20, 25 million guilders at least every year. Otherwise, stop talking about it. So this is where we gotta start going. But we gotta put the right players in this thing here, you know? And the Dutch and French, they gotta work together. We are one island. I think we can sell ourselves much better as one island than as two separate bodies of land on one island. But again, fundamentally for me, is pre-clearance. American pre-clearance, if we like it or not, is going to create a much bigger turnaround of aircrafts coming to St. Maarten. Why do I say this? Pre-clearance, yes. 50 people come in here. Yes, we got to give them special status. Yes, they want the children in all kind of private schools. Yes, all of that is yes, 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 yes. But you know what's also yes? A lot more airlines going to land here. A lot more business going to come to this country. You know why? Because when an airline comes to St. Maarten, drops off its people, loads up and flies back, needs to land at an international gate at the airport. And the turnaround is a minimum of 2 hours because customs, immigration, everybody got to go through the aircraft. If it lands at a national gate because it was pre-cleared in St. Maarten, the turnaround time is 45 minutes. That means at least an hour and 15 minutes that aircraft could have been in the air to another destination. Making money instead of sitting at a gate empty. That's what it means. It's the economics in pre-clearance that some of us don't understand. The agendas that some of us have with pre-clearance is what bothers me. Pre-clearance works well for Aruba. It is not cheap, please. But you know who's going to pay for it? The tourists. They are going to pay for it. We have 700 plus tourists come down here. And you tell me we can't put a $10, a $15 pre-clearance tax on them because they're going back to their country and now they're walking through the gates. They don't have to stand in line and wait for all kind of things. They themselves ain't going to have a problem with that. Southwest will gladly touch down here. That is the biggest low-cost carrier in the United States of America. That will force airlines like Delta, JetBlue, and American Airlines to drop their rates instead of paying $1,200 to $1,500 to fly from here to Miami, because they'll fly for $350, $400. So you see, you make it then affordable for more people to jump on a plane. People can fly from Miami to St. Maarten for $1,000+. People can fly from Miami to Aruba for $400. Why do you think? And it's not because Aruba is guaranteeing the seats. It's because Aruba has pre-clearance. And the airlines can do much more because when they go back, they're on a national gate. That's the big difference, people. These are the things we all need to understand. And once you have volume in tourists, pre-clearance becomes something to do. If you don't have volume, then don't. If you have 100,000 tourists, don't do it. You can't afford it. But if you have 6, 7, 8, 900,000 people, do it. It is only going to increase your revenue, not decrease your revenue. This is what we need people to start thinking about. We got to start thinking out of the box, thinking radical on how we can make this country ours once again. Aye. But what's important in the whole development of this airport is, what are the plans for Winair, our national carrier? Because I'm not hearing much. And maybe that's because I haven't paid attention to it. I haven't asked the right questions yet. But I will be asking those so that I can get an idea on how this is going to work. Again, we can also create more income if we have a realistic economical master plan. The various branches of the economy need to be touched while also regulating the country's income through correct taxation and not by destroying our environment by this crazy building that's going on for ghost owners that don't pay no taxes for nothing. And none of that money is staying here. That's what we got to think about. I decided to take a little sip because now we're going to touch controls at the casinos. I was surprised to see the whole to-do about the entrance at the casinos and the manner this is done. I make this observation, and let me be clear, this whole topic became relevant to me when I saw a video doing the rounds on Facebook. And I am a proponent, I have said it before and I'll say it again, that standalone casinos are not really casinos that I support. Or we're going to have to review how they operate. Many years ago, we had casino controllers that when you come there, they ask for your ID, they write your name down. At the end of the night, there was a book. At the end of the night, the book goes to the office, everything is copied, and there was somebody in the office doing the administration and putting in the names. And if you popped up more than 4 times in that month that you went to the casino, you'd get a letter from the government telling you, listen, you went to the casino more than 4 times, and that's not allowed in accordance to the law ABCD. Today, they don't write nothing. They ask you for your ID, and they tell you, okay, you can pass, or they don't even ask you for your ID. I've been to the casino for maybe once this year. I'm not a casino. I don't believe in casinos, so if I go there, it's because somebody is there and I go and meet them. But when I went, they knew who I was, so they just told me, go ahead, Mr. Camper. What I'm trying to get at is, if we are controlling, what are we doing with the information we are gathering? Because if we are doing nothing with it, then why are we asking for it? Nobody can tell me that that control incident had to do with age. Nobody. The gentleman in question is a well-known gentleman in this community that serves in a respected position. So again, why was the information asked for? But it goes for me further, because abuse of power, that's one thing, you know. Listen, if you have a right to request to see somebody's ID, I agree with you. If that's what your task says, then I agree, you can ask for it. If you want to misuse your function and ask certain people something because you have a beef with them, that's misuse of power. Don't confuse the two. Don't ever confuse the two. What caught my attention was the closing of the door. That an instruction was given to close the casino door. That's when I needed to find out, personally, if a controller has that authority. So I decided to delve into the laws. What is the task of a casino controller? Because we are confusing a few things with economic controllers, casino controllers. They're two totally different controls. Economic controllers, they go into businesses, they check licenses and so. Casino controller is checking the gaming, what's happening in the casino, in the drop boxes, in the back areas. They are authorized to go there. And the law says, if they are hindered, they can call the police. So I know they are busy having some of them become buff-pol, which means they carry an extraordinary badge for a police officer. They don't have arresting powers. They can intimidate, depending again on what their task is, because that badge is based on your task. And if your task, your life can be endangered, you might even be granted a license for a weapon. That far it can go. But a casino's controller's life is not endangered standing by the door, asking for an identification and checking the games in the casino. Because that's what they really do. That's what this is what their task was. Closing doors when people are inside by their task and they have no authority to do it. But they did it. You see, and this is the problem. This is when you believe you're above the law. That you can do what you want when you want and nobody could tell you nothing. I hope a proper investigation is done by the government. I hope a proper investigation is done by the police, because there was an officer involved. I hope they also check it to ensure that there was no craziness happening. I know there were videos, so I hope they pull all the videos, they look at all the videos, and we will see from there what really comes out of this. But if the government really wants to do their task, then they know which casinos to go and sit by and see how the locals go in there every day. How locals go in the bathrooms and prostitute themselves for money to go back into the casino and play. Addiction is not only alcohol, drugs, or sex, you know. Gambling is a very, very, very serious one. And we are not helping anybody. When we keep allowing them in, we're not helping anybody. When we allow the casinos to pay the casino controllers from 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon, $100 a day, we're not helping nobody. Because all they do is they're just leaving in people. Because the money got to come from someplace to pay them. You see, y'all going to open up Pandora's box now. Because I would like to know how this money is registered. Since we are there checking the operations of a lot of businesses, because I know they're busy now checking everybody, maybe you should check this too and see if these monies are registered. And if these people, these casino controllers, they're reporting this money to the tax office as income. Because it's not from the government. The casinos are paying the casino controllers directly. Again, I believe that this is something we got to be careful with. If the casino is going to open from 9 to 1, government has to pay the casino controllers. And government then should adjust the fees that the casinos have to pay so they can cover to put people to work from 9 to 1 in the morning into the afternoon. The same goes for more doors. Casinos pay per door, because at every door there's a casino controller. So if you have 2 doors, you'll have 2 casino controllers. That means your fees for manpower are twice as much as the other one that has 1 door. These are things that we have to agree to and work with. You can't just do it different, because this is the problem that it brings into our society. A lot of casino licenses that were given off, also, in the olden days, the commissioners, and I don't know if the ministers did it this time around, but in the olden days, before 10, commissioners used to exempt casinos from certain things. So if the law said A, B, C, D, a commissioner used to exempt the casino from certain things. These things have to be reviewed and the laws have to be enforced. We keep talking about paradise. Paradise for whom? Having addicts, gambling addicts, that leave their salaries in casinos, go home, beat the shit out of their children and wives because they are frustrated, cannot be paradise, people. We talk about those that smoking weed, and we talk about those that drinking, but this is just as bad. If you all don't know, go and look for somebody who's a gambling addict, and you will realize how their behavior is when they need money to gamble. Please, people, don't let us not take this thing for granted and just do as if it isn't a big problem. It is a serious problem. The amount of people that we have going into casinos gambling is ridiculous. And we need to deal with the matter seriously. Very, very seriously. You know, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do with these casino things, but I know it can't stay the way it is. The whole gaming board, you know, all of these things. Why they are taking so long, only God knows. Online gambling. It's another one that they're trying to do. A lot of problems in Curacao with the Russian mafia owning it. I'm saying regulate it properly and make sure it is done the right way, because other countries have it too. So let us not pretend that we can't have it. The fall of the Dutch government, what's that going to mean for us actually? Well, again, once the news had break that the Rutte 4 government had fallen, I nearly got a little heart shock when I saw André Bosman put up his name to become the new leader, and I said, oh my God, we're going to go from bad to worst. While Bosman might be a good man, his view of us as outright criminals, the country is full of criminals and they should sell it for €1 on the internet, tells me something about the good man's thinking. Thank God the VVD has backed a different candidate, and Bosman will not be the candidate of choice for the leader of the VVD, and he also pulled back his candidacy. So at least that's one good thing on come out of it. But the repayment of the loans, like I said, this is really something that is bothering me, because the issue is going to become very, very difficult for us after the Dutch elections. And that's why I said earlier that I believe the Jacobs cabinet will not last till January. If I am the Prime Minister, we're going to make sure I got elections the same time the Dutch got. I can't afford a Dutch right or extreme right win. And the first thing they do is they clamp down on those liquidity loans and you lose the election right away. So I think we're going to have elections in November. I think the Prime Minister is going to make that call. She's going to say, oh, you know, I don't want nobody campaigning during Christmas. Christmas is sacred for all of us. Madam Prime Minister, any excuse you use, I agree with you. Just let's get it done. Let's get rid of this government. And the faster you call the elections, the better it is for all of us. But I do believe that we're going to have problems with the Dutch elections, because I don't see the parties that are in government right now coming back the way they were. I think some of them are going to get weaker and some of the others are going to get stronger. Especially the BBB from Caroline Plus. That is a more extreme right. That is the farmers. Those are the ones that ain't cutting for nobody. They can cut all the flights in Schiphol if they so desire, but they are not going to cut how much pigs and cows and chickens they're going to have in Holland, so that the fertilization aspect doesn't become an issue in the Netherlands. Again, we need to see and we need to hope that Van Hoffelen will be able to realize an agreement prior to August. If she doesn't, I think we're in trouble. I hope that the government wises up and takes the 700 million and ensures that India is taken care of, and then have that brought into the equation with the 316 million. So I think our share should be about 70 million. So we will be any place around the 400 million that we will owe, and we'll have to pay that back. If it's over 10 years, that's about 40 million plus interest. If it's over 20 years, it's 20 million plus interest. That's what it simply means. Again, these are the things that have me concerned when it comes to that. So again, I don't know, but I hope that while we have a caretaker government, the government can continue looking at investments from the agricultural aspect. What can we do with agriculture? I really hope that the renewable energy investments can become a serious something for the country, and maybe even through the trust fund, using the entrepreneurial monies that were allocated, maybe work with Gebe, and then we can do something there. Again, I don't know what's still possible with a caretaker government, but with the NRPB, I'm sure some more can be done there, and we can do something. Hopefully also, we can look into the CARICOM organization sooner than later. Curacao and Martinique have opened the doors to get in, and I'm saying if there's one thing CARICOM can help us with for sure, is agriculture. There are other things we can look at in the CARICOM world. You have, for example, the judicial system is something. If we really want to go down that road, it is something to look at. It is an English-based something. But again, like I said, there are things to do, but I believe when it comes to agriculture, disaster management, I see we are busy with SEDIMA already, financing, etc., that we can look at these things and see how we can move on. Now, as time is flying, I want to be cautious with my time. A national decree or not. The government of St. Maarten says they don't need the national decrees once it's budgeted. Yet they go to courts in the Bearing Point case, and they use the lack of a national decree as the basis for not allowing or not recognizing the Bearing Point agreement. The judge threw it out. The judge says, this is nonsense, that's not true. So, is a national decree needed? Yes or no? Because when it was convenient, it was no. Now, you have a court case, you need it. So government, which one is it? Fish or fowl? It has to be one of them. But what is dangerous is what a judge did. The judge made how you say one is now, oh God, I can't even pick up the name. But there is a verdict, a verdict, 1 million guilders now. And while the rest of the case is ongoing, which can lead up to 10 million plus guilders fines that the government has to pay Bearing Point, because the government has a very, very, very strong case, because the chef de cabinet had made the agreement with Bearing Point. Now, you see, this is where things go haywire for me. A chef de cabinet makes an agreement with Bearing Point. A chef de cabinet that today is working where exactly? Where was this chef de cabinet working before they became chef de cabinet? You see, these are the things that I don't understand. You come out of an organization, you join government, you sign off a 30 million guilder contract, now you go back to the organization, and government no going to have to foot a bill. I don't understand. But maybe I'm missing some things, because maybe not everything is being told to us, not everything is being shown to us. But I'll tell you one thing. If the government had to pay all this money, government have the money to do nothing. Because remember, no, all these taxes that the government had put on the books that they were going to collect. We're going into August, the 8th month, and those taxes have not been collected yet. Yet, we believe they're going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So that means we have to do a bunch of amending and cutting again on the budget. But again, it is interesting to know what the legal basis for the decision was that the judge based his verdict on. It'll be interesting. I haven't seen the verdict, so if anybody has the verdict and they could send it to me, I would appreciate it because I'd love to read it. But like I said, it is what it is, but clearly there are a lot of things going on now that are so unclear to all. Because you don't know if you need a national decree or if you need one. At this point in time, I don't know anymore. If a judge is saying you don't need it, I want to believe the judge knows what he's doing. I really want to do that. But then it means too that I have to accept that for the past 12 years under the previous governor, with all his legal cabinets and everything, they had no clue what the hell they were doing. And they abused their power by demanding national decrees for everything. Food for thought, right? Now, the Caribbean Guilder and the Chamber of Commerce, and keep it very short. Chamber of Commerce said they have seen no need presented by the central bank why we need a Caribbean Guilder. The Caribbean Guilder is just newer money, no difference in value because it's pegged to the dollar, will have no impact on the economy or the economic prosperity of this country. It will do absolutely nothing other than cost the country a whole load of money, and the reintroduction, the introduction of new currency and taking out the old currency will be a nightmare for the businesses. And the question is, who really needs the Caribbean Guilder or the Antillean Guilder? Who really needs it? Because in reality, in St. Maarten, the dollar and the euro talk. While we all are paid in guilders as civil servants, most of us, when we go to the Bankomatico, we take dollars. We don't take no guilders. Very few people accept guilders. Some people don't even know. They ask, what I be exactly? Most of the prices are in dollars. And I agree with what the economic controllers will do now to make sure that all the prices are in guilders. It's all nice and well. But it's a currency that is hardly being used. The onlyest value the Antillean Guilder / the Caribbean Guilder gonna have is that 1% foreign exchange tax. And if we get rid of the Antillean Guilder / Caribbean Guilder and we dollarize and we go over to a transaction tax, I think we will make more money and have less headache. And this thing about, oh, can we just do that? If Bonaire, Saba and Statia got permission through the Dutch to do it, we should work with the Dutch Central Bank and have this done and secede from the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Maarten. I honestly believe we need to do that because this makes absolutely no sense anymore. From day one, when we asked to dollarize, they found 100 reasons why we shouldn't dollarize. And I said, I understand the position of the central bank because why would I prepare my own slaughter? A central bank. Why would I prepare to dollarize and then dismantle the central bank? Why would I do that as central bank? That's what it was, and that's what's happening. But unfortunately, I agree with the Chamber of Commerce that at this point in time, there was no need, nor did the central bank provide a need to change from the Antillean Guilder to the Caribbean Guilder, other than it costing us tens and tens of millions of guilders. Gebe, what's happening? Now, Gebe gonna get special attention from me today. Twofold. Before yesterday, not before yesterday. Before the weekend, I had already written my Gebe story, and it had to do with issues brewing once again in Gebe with the billing, etc., and reading the whole aspect of the Daily Herald, asking questions if there was a hack or not, etc., and what was going on, and how many people are not getting bills yet. And naturally for me, water bills and electricity, I know water bills is a serious problem up till today. And the questions that I had, for example, were, okay, so all these water bills that are not being collected, what impact is this having on Gebe? Electricity bills not being collected, what impact does this have on Gebe? And I'm talking about the financial impact now, you know, how this moves forward. And naturally, because Gebe wasn't ready to handle the water production, which we had all hoped they would be ready, a 2-year extension was signed off with 7 Seas until 2025 for the water production under some new conditions, as I read from the press statement of the Minister of VSR. So again, while all of these things were happening, and I wrote about them, even why are ministers taking tours in Gebe now? They're doing walkthroughs. With what? For what reason? Elections coming, I know that. You gotta go shake some hands. But do that in your own time, man. Don't go walk around in there playing. The minister have nothing to do there. According to me, the Prime Minister said, no, you got nothing to do down there. She in charge. So what are you down there walking around doing? But again, I also wanted to know if the IT problem was known, because they started talking about, they realized some strange things with IT, some strange happenings in the IT, and if they knew of this, and if this had anything to do with the fixing of the SAP programs, etc., etc. Now, a lot of people got stressed already. So anytime you hear Gebe in a discussion, everybody panics. But the last thing you need is another Gebe saga. Now, again, I'm going to be honest. I made a promise to Mr. Troy Washington. I said, Mr. Washington, I will not go after you unless you force my hand to go after you. So, I will call you when I need proper information. And if you can give me the information, I would appreciate it very much. And if you cannot give it to me, I will understand. I'll say this much. I called around because I had a feeling that Gebe was hacked. I had a strong feeling. I want to say this. There were abnormalities in the IT system detected by the monitoring system. People that are monitoring the Gebe system, they detected strange things. Basically, they detected the start of a hack. And they were able to block it. They shut it down. And this morning, the backups were brought in. The backups were put online. And Gebe is open to the public. Gebe is serving the public. Let me say this. We had a hack. This management, instead of pointing fingers and blaming, took the lesson to be learned and got the monitoring system in place and got the backups off island. And today, Gebe is open, proper bills are going to be going back out, and they're back to normal. The only thing I can say is thank you very much, Mr. Troy Washington and your team. Job well done. And some people mightn't like what I'm doing or what I'm saying, but when a young professional deserves his kudos, instead of being told he can't crunch numbers by an idiot down at the airport, then I'm going to give you your kudos, brother. You did a hell of a job. You have saved St. Maarten from a disaster in the making. Because clearly, the hackers ain't done with Gebe. Clearly, they want something else. So, I hope, though, because I want to throw out something now, I hope that we try to really investigate who's behind this. Because it's strange that every minute these things happening when things getting rough. The damage was minimized. This is so important for people to understand. The damage was minimized because they threw the system off the grid right away. Blocked everything, got it out of the system, put in the backups, so maybe 1 or 2 days of information we'll have to re-input it. But thank God to the monitors that they have been able to see what was coming and they were able to stop it. I'm going to be, and I think St. Maarten is going to be eternally grateful for having a team headed by Troy Washington looking over the Gebe issues right now. Prostitutes, exotic dancers, are what exactly is meant with the term animer meisjes, or pleasure girls. It was with disgust that I read the article of the Immigration Theatre in Vesa reading the Crystal nightclub. Now, people are going to say, you're doing that because that's family. Nothing of that. If it was that, I wouldn't have said anything. The reason I'm saying it is because what was written caught my attention. Many complaints came in from various persons of various clubs having illegal workers at the locations. The raid was done randomly and the other clubs will follow also. But no date is set yet, so they can ensure that if they had people working there that were illegal, that they have a chance to leave. About 4 to 6 girls that were taken were released because their documents were in order. Now, you know, I want to be cautious how I ask these questions, but I'm going to be damn straight with them. Because when you go down this road, you got to be ready for the consequences of your actions. What is an animer meisje exactly in the law? Is it a prostitute? Is it an exotic dancer? What is it? How do you all grant permits? When you grant the permit for them to work as a sole proprietor, what are they working as? Where are they working? Who is their employer? I'll tell you who. They are. They're not employed. They are their own employer. That's one. When you give them a location to live, a verblijfsvergunning, where is that? Is that at somebody's home? Is that at a hotel? What is it exactly? Because if we are not clear with these things, then everybody's going to start guessing what they shouldn't be guessing. Remember, the last time they raided and they started breaking down doors, they started arresting club owners. And the term was human trafficking. And those cases are still ongoing. While in Holland, the same thing happens, but it's not human trafficking. You see, human trafficking is described very strangely, but yet understandably. It's when a country of a stronger economic unity exploits people of a lesser economic unity. So St. Maarten, cost of living, your GDP is what? $30,000 a year? And in Santo Domingo, it's $5,000 a year. That means Santo Domingo is a much poorer country. So if you employ people from that country and the condition, it is human trafficking. This is where they went with these things in some of these cases. And this is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I need to understand, do we have prostitution homes or houses on this island? And if yes, how many and who have those licenses? Is prostitution legal on the island by law? And if yes, which law is that exactly? I appreciate the ministers that carried out the raid to clarify such, because I think it's important that when you start raiding entities under illegal workers, right across the road there was another club with the same situation, but you didn't go there. Why is that? Why is that exactly? You see, I told you to open a Pandora's box. I'm not afraid to talk about these things, because it's going to stop today or it's going to blow it out of proportion completely. Who's responsible for foreign sole proprietor that overstays their legal stay on the island? Listen to this question carefully, Minister. Who is responsible for foreign sole proprietor that overstays their legal stay on the island? Who's responsible for any tourist that overstays their legal stay on the island and then thus becomes undocumented? Who's responsible for them? How much are the sole proprietors and tourists fined when they stay or when they overstay on the island? Because they're the ones that broke the law. Would Holland House or Davy, are they going to get a fine if a tourist overstays on St. Maarten and you all have to go to DV and pick him up and deport him? Are you all fining DV, for example, and don't throw the name, don't make the name, let's call it Hotel X. Are you all going to then fine the hotel or the person? How does it work? And you see, I am doing this with intent because the animer meisje is a sole proprietor. That's what you all made of it. Like how it was in Stacia, I believe. You all did this because nobody, and I can understand this, nobody really wants to sign for prostitutes. And I can understand it's a difficult thing to do. But we're going to have to be honest with how we're going to deal with the law on this. Because we got to fix it. I told you all a long time ago, fix these things. Because if we don't fix them, they're going to keep coming back and biting us in the backside. And here we have a case again. And it is easy for us to start get all up in our feelings. But the fact of the matter is, this is what it is. How many clubs have you raided since then? The answer is none. Does the raid have anything to do with me personally calling you all out? First it was my brother with Winia. Now it's my brother-in-law at the club. So tell me, is it personal? Because if that's what you all want to make it, I'm good with that. I'm good with this. But please understand that we will have no more rules then. All gloves off. I have no problem. Politics is between us. But when you want to involve family, you change the name of the game. Remember that well. I've always said, no, let me leave that. Let me not go down there. I don't want to do it anymore. The dumping grounds for car wrecks. A lot of people, rightfully so, have complained about car wrecks. But I believe we need to stop complaining about car wrecks. We need to stop complaining about cars being dumped all over the place. St. Peter's, Belvedere, Dutch Quarter, Phillipsburg, Parnfield, Fort William, Point Blank, Simpson Bay, Cold Bay, Gebe, all over the place. You know why we got to stop complaining? Because it ain't going to help. What we do need to do is implement a fee of $200, $250 per car imported. And for the existing 32,000 plus number plates we sold, starting 2024, for 3 years long, we will take the $250 and break it up in 80, 80, 90. And that means in 2024, you're going to pay $80 extra. 2025, you'll pay $80 extra. 2026, you're going to pay $90 on your number plate, so that the $250 for that car is then in the kitty cat of the government or whichever group of section of the budget you want to use, where car wrecks will be picked up by the government, because the government has a fund for it. And that fund keeps filling itself as new cars come. They keep putting money into it. And as the old cars are there, we take them away and we go with them. That way, the government doesn't have to say they don't have money. The government declares it a wreck with the police, picks it up and goes with it and gets rid of it. This is what we need to do. And keep bawling about how they got the place like a garbage dump. But it is we doing it. So we serve it. We own people. There ain't nobody coming from St. Bart's or Sabre Station with cars and dumping them in our neighborhoods. We ourselves are doing this. So we need to create and put measures in place that we can handle this. That the government has money to do this, because government needs money to do it. It ain't for free. Picking up car wrecks ain't for free. So if we go down there, sign a contract with a company to pick up the wrecks, 3 to 5 years. Do a public tender, make sure that the company has crushers and everything, and not these fly-by-nights and friends and family that you're going to fix up and then tell them go buy this and go buy that. No. We have companies here that can do these things. Let's go with existing companies of 5 or 10 years experience, and we get it done. And they can bring in badges and get rid of the wrecks. Anything different ain't going to work. And when we do the waste to energy, as the NRPB said the government is going to do, then we attach the wreck as garbage to that, and they handle it from there. And the contract then continues between the waste facility and the wreck discharges. So again, we can do things. We can do this with the World Bank also. We can do these things. But we got to do them. We got to stop talking about what we're going to do. No, just do them. And if we do that, then we stand a chance getting rid of all the wrecks in our neighborhood. Now, I believe, like I said, this whole aspect with the nightclubs, because I have reached to the aspect, the section of elections now, was a warning shot to tell me to behave myself, otherwise they're going to come at me. I'm sure my children's businesses are going to be targeted, because that's how they work. That's how they work. And again, like I said, banks ain't going no place. Y'all can come with all you want. I'm going to plan ass or your ass one for one. I want to expose what you don't want exposed. And then I know you will run and cry and send your people to come talk to me. But then it's too late, because once I take off these gloves, they're going to stay off till after elections. I have fairly warned you all now. I ain't going to say it again. The next time I'm just going to come out here and make some serious accusations about certain people and certain things, and we're going to see how the chips fall then. I noticed that the game of cat and mouse that the Prime Minister has played with Van Huffelen regarding the liquidity repayment of the loans is not paying off. And it's going to be a problem for us. And that election stunt, Prime Minister, the only way you're going to fix that is calling early elections. Make sure your elections are before the Dutch are right, or equally to the Dutch. Because you don't want it after the Dutch. Not even a day afterwards. That'd be a bad thing for you. Because that India problem gonna hunt us, and gonna hunt us for a while. The whole casino policy, I'm going to do a whole deep dive in that and see exactly what the social economical downside of this product really is, and see how we can do better. Not only as politicians, but as country, how we can do better to deal with matters that are touching the daily lives of the regular man, not the rich man, the regular man. We need to deal with these things. We honestly need to deal with these things. You know, I have asked, I have talked about the weed policy, the tolerance policy, and nothing is happening other than a request for proposal was made with conditions that nobody on the island could meet, so that it can be then once again turned over to a foreign company out of Canada, I understood, and friends and family. I understood there was a big PD with at least 7 numbers to a group. Who it is at this point in time ain't relevant, but like I said, when the gloves come off, it will become very relevant. But I'll say this, and I'm going to say it that everybody understand me. When I spoke about the weed policy, the legalization of weed, there were 2 things. One, it was to stop filling up the jail with youngsters that are smoking weed and destroying their careers to be able to go to school or get a decent job. That was 1. 2, if our people have imported, have grown, have distributed, sold, and go to jail for weed, then they should be given the first opportunity to legalize it and make money off of it, instead of bringing in foreigners and turning over a gold mine to them. I don't understand why we keep excluding our own. Because a promise made is not a promise kept when you're keeping out your own people. This is a $1 billion industry. And there was a huge $1 million gift given for certain criteria and for certain things. But I'm going to say it again. This is no small talk, you know. This is serious talk. People are expecting that this time around is their turn. And we have to ensure that we do that. We are the ones making the laws. We are the ones that have to guarantee our own people. And when it comes, because you know, there's a whole study now that just came out, and I'm going to publish it on my Facebook, about the damages of weed versus alcohol. And alcohol trumps it. Trumps it going and coming. Yet that one is legal. And for weed, we cry foul. A lot of strange things going on in our country. And yet, we don't want to accept that we need to change. I want to thank, in my closing remarks, I want to thank the Minister of Justice for seeing the light of day and bringing the ankle bracelets into the usage of the justice chain. 100 and something people have to go to jail, so-called. 100 and something people have been walking around like a free person. So why put them in jail now? Why fool ourselves? Why make ourselves look like idiots? Why? To please 1 or 2 jackasses that want to see us in jail? No. Thank you, Minister, for bringing that ankle bracelet, and thank you for allowing it to go into work so that we can deal with all those people that have been at home waiting for years to be called, to be given an ankle bracelet and continue to walk around. Because the crimes they committed were not violent crimes, 1, and 2, sometimes the crimes committed were fabricated crimes. Bunks out. Have a great week. I know I'm going to hear a lot of things about this show, but guess what? I love you all. Take care. One love. We see each other soon again.